what's the most amount of money your business has made in a single month?
I would say that when I see the people around me and the amount of work that I was doing and the fact that we are both getting the same pay, it just boils me because part ways with my ex-fiance, that was the toughest. I felt that I wanted to give up because when it came to this very point where my mom actually told me, I think it's time for you to stop dreaming and time to live that dream. But we knew that we had to learn as time goes by, and we were just growing so fast that things were crumbling, but we were going up again.
Why do you feel like you don't want to call yourself an entrepreneur?
You got me there.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of The Uncommon Path. Today we're interviewing Sheqal, who's a 26-year-old Singaporean entrepreneur who co-founded 2 successful businesses. And what's super interesting about his journey was that he went from being a police officer to starting and co-founding 2 businesses without actually having a business idea. I think you guys are gonna find this really inspirational. And so without further ado, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. So, Sheqal, welcome to The Uncommon Path.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, pleasure to have you on. I really appreciate you coming on. I know you're super busy. You and Khai, your business partner. But yeah, for the people who are watching that don't know who you are, who are you? Where are you from? And what have you built?
First of all, thank you so much, Kyle, for having me. I'm Sheqal. I'm 26 years old. And I think to sum it all, I just run 2 businesses, small businesses as of now. One is Okami, which is a clothing brand, athleisure clothing brand. And the other one is my marketing agency, is called Viral Visions. And basically our niche is just on TikTok marketing itself. And I mean, that's all I can actually say. Yeah, it's quite small. I mean, we're still growing, but I think we have bigger plans also at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think that's very humble of you to say that you guys have small businesses. I actually think like what you guys have built, and we'll get into that in this episode, but like what you guys have built is nothing short of small. I think the impact you've already made so far, and I mean the money you guys are making as well, I think is super impressive. So yeah, excited to learn more and dive deep in this episode.
Let's go for it, man. Yeah.
How do you think your friends would describe you?
Well, that's tough. I've never really asked my friends those kind of questions though, but this is just based on my assumptions, okay? I would say hardworking, driven, and just I'm just a dreamer, I would say. Yeah, dreaming big, be it my vision or my goals. I think just that's that they can encompass.
Yeah. And were you like that in school, like when you were younger, going through school? Were you a dreamer that you've always had big goals?
Funny how you mentioned that, because my mom actually, my second name, Sheqal Armanda. So Armanda, basically my mom named me Armanda because the meaning is a boy full of dreams. So since young, I was actually dreaming. I wanted to do so many things. I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to be in the tourism line. So I was just everywhere, So I was a dreamer in that aspect. And when it came to this very point where my mom actually told me, Armanda, which is my second name, Armanda, I think it's time for you to stop dreaming and time to live that dream or do something about that dream. So that was when it really struck me hard. And it was at, if I'm not wrong, Poly, when I was in Polytechnic, when it really hit me hard that this is not the shit that I'm going to do for years to come. Yeah, and that's where eventually later on, I think you will know more about me in terms of my career and everything, because I wasn't like many other, they call it entrepreneurs. I don't like to call myself an entrepreneur because I'm not there yet, but it's where I'm not one of those that, from nothing. I came from a background where I had a full-time job, and that it led me to this line of things, and it's a total different experience from whatever that I thought it would be lah. So that's that.
What, going back to when you were in your poly days, your mom said, kind of give you an ultimatum, which is like, just stop doing that and like, take something more traditional, I would say. And how old are you? You'd be about 17 years old?
17.
Was
17.
like the start of Polytechnic, right?
Correct.
So that's when you have to decide essentially what course you're going to focus on,
Yep.
right? So every Singaporean boy who goes through middle school, they have their O levels, and then from there they
Straight into poly.
go to Polytechnic,
Correct.
and you can choose your
Yep.
discipline, your course.
Correct.
So why do you think your mom, were you already doing business at that age, or were you just talking about it like, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a pilot? Like what was going through your head at that time?
It was just all about talking. I wasn't walking the talk. So I think my mom just got fed up of me. And think back to the question of like, during that point where actually led me to the Polytechnic, right? It was because I actually failed my O-level math twice. And the fact that I retake my O-level exams, my math O-level exams, and I still failed. I thought I was just like, yeah, that's it. Because I wanted to, so my first choice in Polytechnic, because you have different choices, right? So my first choice was actually to be, I put aviation, despite me failing math. So I was like, okay, I'll just try my luck. So aviation was first. Second was into the architecture industry. Third one was towards the hospitality industry, the tourism hospitality industry. Then my last choice was media production and design, which was nothing got to do with whatever that I wanted to do back then. And truth to be told, those first few choices were the choices that actually required math. So that's why I decided to retake, and I failed. So that's why I just, you know what, my mom just told me, leave it to God and just do your best at the end of the day. And I think from then on, it ignited a different passion, which was towards the videography and also the photography side of things. Yeah.
So what did you end up choosing?
I didn't choose.
So you just left it.
I just got thrown into my last choice, which was media production and design. So at that point in time, I was like, okay, there's no turning back for me. You know, I can't go into JC. I can't go into anywhere else. So I was just like throwing my body into Polytechnic with the diploma course, which I didn't even want to be in. So I think that's just about it.
Did you, in that time period, did you feel like a failure?
Essentially, I did. I felt that why couldn't I pass my math exam? No, and I did it twice, and I had multiple tuitions and classes, remedial classes, and everything. So I felt like I was stupid in a way, you know. And it was at that time when during the first year itself, I actually discovered myself that okay, I'm not a very theory-based kind of person. I'm a very hands-on kind of person. So that made me feel kind of like uplifted myself in terms of, okay, I'm not a failure. I have something that I can actually do, which is the hands-on side of things. So with that, it made me feel better in a way, but I still feel like this isn't what I wanted to do, you know. So throughout that 3 years, if I'm not wrong, 3-4 years in poly, I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to pass this diploma and just F off from here. And yeah.
I think that's actually quite a common thing though.
Really?
Did you, because I have cousins
Yep.
from Singapore, and quite a few of them like didn't really like what they were doing in poly, and they kind of just did it.
Get
because
thrown there, right?
They were just thrown in,
Yep.
and they didn't have a choice. What would you say, knowing what you know now, what would you say to your 17, 18-year-old self going through that?
I love that question, man. Honestly, I've never thought of this question before. So I got to thank you for that. Let me think about it. A quick one. That's a very good question. I think
Take your time. It's all good.
if I were to tell my 17 years old self, I think I would say that, as cliche as it sounds, that failure or that obstacle that make you feel like, you know, it should have been your path, but it didn't, that shouldn't stop you from being who you are in the future or in the present moment itself. And I think that one trait that actually made me push through was the idea and the perseverance of just telling myself, you know, whatever that I get into, I'm just going to do my best, because I don't know where this outcome will actually be. So if I do my best in this aspect of, like, you know, in photography or videography, you never know that I might get selected to be a photographer in some top class agency or whatever it is. So that was always my mindset back then. And that actually helped me. So if I could tell my 17 years old self, I would just tell him, just keep doing what you're doing. Never give up. And, just have that mindset of whatever it is, fuck it, just do your best. Just really do your best. You never know what opportunity it actually creates. And truth to be told, even up till the present moment right now, that value that has been instilled in me from young, it actually created and opened up more doors for bigger opportunities. Yeah, so I think that really helped me a lot, and something that I would want to tell my 17-year-old self.
Yeah. And was there someone supporting you along that journey? Like, was your mom, your dad very supportive of you?
They were. But you know how, I don't know if it's a man thing. I don't know about you. But if it's a man thing, I feel I usually don't talk about my feelings or my thoughts to my parents. As much as they are supportive, but sometimes they are not there when I want them to actually show up. You get what I mean? Like, there are moments where, for example, take a football match. Let's take football match during my poly days when I actually wanted them to show up and just come down and support me. I think mentally, emotionally, that would have actually helped me a lot. But the fact that I see my other friends' family came down, it kind of pull you down to a certain extent. But you have to put up a very strong front towards your friends. And, I'm okay. And where's your parents? Oh, no lah, they are busy. So every time it constantly becomes that, and you just become immune to that in a way, and you start to actually hold back and keep your thoughts and your feelings to yourself, despite your parents, in a way they show support in that way, but that's not the kind of support that you want from them, essentially. So yeah, I would say that's throughout my whole journey lah. It's a bit sad. I know it sounds a bit sad, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to navigate when you're a kid as well, right? Like,
definitely.
I think our generation are learning now how to be a bit more open with feelings and stuff like that. I think the generations before us were very good at compartmentalizing everything and just holding it deep in their mind and not saying anything. And sometimes, like, if you think too much about your problems get bigger, which is what I found personally. Mm-hmm. So there is a balance to, communicating your feelings, which I think is important, being vocal about it. But at the same time, like, you got to where you are today as well by kind of just embracing it. And I'm sure you also maybe are you more vocal with your feelings nowadays going through those tough times?
I try. But again, it's just, I feel it's just a man ego that I feel that whatever thoughts, whatever suffering, whatever burden I'm going through, I wouldn't want anybody to know. I wouldn't want anybody to experience what I'm going through, because I want whatever suffering I'm going through, or whatever thoughts or whatever thing that I'm going through, that's just on me for me to burden it, to just burden myself on, and I don't want to burden anyone else. I think that's just something that even up till now it has not been so vocal about it. Maybe again because it started from young and I wasn't being very vocal. So for me to open up about this, even to my partners or whatever it is, it's hard. It's hard, but I try, but it's so hard. Yeah.
No, I relate to that, because like sometimes I don't want to talk about my issues because I don't want it to be a burden for someone else. I'm okay to take on the burden.
Correct.
But it is important, though, I think, as we get older and we have more responsibilities and life gets harder, it is sometimes good to open up, right?
I try. And don't mind me asking you that question. So how do you then open up or try to be vocal in that aspect?
That's a good question. I think it starts with what I like to do is just try and understand it for myself before I go vocalize it. Because I think sometimes, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, sometimes you don't know what's wrong.
Yes.
Sometimes you have this feeling, you have this, fear, angst, anxiety, disappointment, depression, but you don't know how to voice it out. Right? And so it's easier not to try and understand it. So what has helped me a lot is actually for about 10 years now, I just make a video message to my future self.
Really?
Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. I just pull out my phone, selfie camera style, and I'll just talk to my future self like, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I've been through. And sometimes after that, I feel good.
Okay.
But most of the time I start to understand like, okay, if I talk to my future self,
Yep.
I pretend he knows what's going on, and
Understand.
he's like coming from a much
He's the
wiser
bigger self. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like I found that quite helpful.
Mhm.
I think sometimes writing down your feelings in a journal
Definitely.
or your thoughts
Yep.
in your phone, you could do it in your notes app or
Yep.
whatever. I think that's helped me as well. Before I even go
Mhm.
talk to people.
Understand.
And I think, yeah, that's a great question because I think it's going to be different for everybody.
Yep.
Like there's no one right way to
Yes.
do it.
Correct.
And it's easier if you have friends
Mhm.
that are, a bit more open. I think especially for guys, I think it's like your friend group can be quite dismissive of emotion. And so, it's very hard to open up to a group of men. I think sometimes when it's one-on-one, it's much easier.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, it's a very difficult thing that I think a lot of young people have to try and navigate. And I still don't have it figured out, man. Like sometimes I do still keep stuff to myself when I shouldn't. Probably.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, right? I think it's interesting. You mentioned you actually take videos of yourself. Honestly, I've never heard anyone doing that before talking to the bigger self. And I think by doing that action, I think it makes you become a bigger person in a way that you are trying to think in a different perspective. Like, okay, maybe that problem isn't so big of a problem. Maybe you're just overthinking it. So I think actually that's very interesting and very nice of you. And if I may also add on my end, I think even though I'm not that vocal towards people in terms of my emotions and my feelings, as men, I feel like myself, I feel that it's okay to be alone, to take those times to be alone. Like, just nearby this place, there's the Marina South Pier, right? Where you just sit down alone. And that is where, like what you mentioned, I think journaling helps me a lot. And I've never journaled before in my life. Only I started journaling, honestly, it's only last year only. And yeah, it's never too late to try something new. So when I tried it, I was like, shit, I get to express my feelings, my thoughts, my emotions. And I get to ask myself again, actually, it's not so much of a problem. It's okay. Or actually, I can solve this by doing this. Because I actually saw a video somewhere on TikTok. They mentioned that your thoughts are only your thoughts. And if you put your thoughts into paper and you then dissect your thoughts from the paper itself and you turn it into actions, that's what makes you become successful and that's what makes you execute your next move. And I resonate with that a lot because that was me essentially like, okay, no point overthinking because you just waste your time. And I think time is of an essence and I wouldn't want to waste any of it because as like what both of us know, time is money at the end of the day. So I think that's just that lah, if I can add on.
Yeah, because like your head can be very messy sometimes. It's a way of just letting it out and just
definitely.
I think there's a phrase for it, it's just called brain dumping. It's like sometimes when you don't take the time to just brain dump all your thoughts, all your worries, fears, whatever's going on with you, it can compound and build up over time, and then suddenly you just explode, exactly. And like just like whoa, like because you haven't been spending the time. It's kind of like cleaning your car, you know, like or cleaning your house. Over time, the dust builds up, man. And you just got to clean it out. And sometimes that's through exercise, that's through talking with a friend, talking to a therapist, whatever kind of vehicle you have for that. And I mean, it could just be pen and paper, just write it out.
It's easy as that. Exactly.
Yeah. There's something I do want to talk about your past before we get into kind of the business side of things.
Ahead, man.
But yeah, you were in, and this is something like I've known you for 2 years now, but I didn't know that you were in the police, the Special Operations Command before, which is like the special forces side of police. So yeah, why did you actually join that? So you did media and video production after poly, and then you went straight to national service.
Correct.
Okay.
So
take me through that.
The reason why I decided to sign on is it? Okay, so as you know, it's mandatory for Singaporeans to go through NS, right? So my enlistment, it was towards the police side of things. So when I was in police as an NS man, I actually got the vocation of Special Operations Command back then itself. And during that whole stint of my NS journey, I actually quite enjoyed it. And always that sense of, I can be that tactical person, I forgot what's the name of the guy that, T-Rex arm, the one that shoots very well. So I actually looked up to him back then. And yeah, during that point of time, I decided to sign on. First was because of COVID. That was the first thing. Second was because I had to settle down because I actually was with my ex-fiancée back then. So I knew that I had to settle down some way or another. And with signing on with the police force, it would get me like 30,000 bonus for the sign-on bonus. So that was like, money was an incentive for me back then because I needed to settle down quick. So the third one was really because I love the job because of it being tactical and the fitness out of it. And basically what I do in Special Operations Command is just I get paid to be fit. I'm there every shift running, I'm working out and learning all those tactics from shooting to public order. And I love that up till a point where things actually change and open up my mind. And I think that I will leave it to you for later for the questions of that.
Yeah, what did you, besides the fitness aspect, was there anything else that you really enjoyed being in a team that has to perform at such a level?
Ooh. There's one thing that I really enjoyed. It was the pressure, two things. It was the pressure that was, they call it the duress that was given during training scenarios, during any form of physical exercise. I love that duress because with that, it makes me, always in my mind is always, with discomfort leads to growth. So in my mind, it was always constantly about that, push me until my breaking point. I don't care. I love that. And that was essentially what made me like that pain. So I love pain. In a way, it sounds weird, but I love that pain. And secondly, I think it's the what would I say? It's just that being respected moment because you know that you're in Special Operations Command with the red beret and you have to uphold a certain discipline, a certain level of fitness because you're the last line of defense. I mean, after that, you have the very, very last line, which is the star team. But essentially, you're the last line of defense for the police force. And you hold that utmost respect to Singaporeans and to many other units itself. And I think that is what made me very proud. I think it was that proud moment for me that made me stay at the end of the day. Yeah.
And how long did you do that for?
Inclusive of my NS, I would say 4 years.
So you did that in 4 years in total?
4 years. 4 years in the force.
And what did you dislike about it the most?
I might get cancelled for this, but I mean, whatever. I dislike the environment. That's the first thing. I dislike the environment. I dislike how, I wouldn't say just the environment. The environment itself plays so many different aspects to it, but it's the fact that there's a certain ranking that you have to go through. I mean, it's normal. It's okay to have those kind of ranking because it's the corporate system, it's the government system, it's the military system, paramilitary system, right? But it's the fact that if you're a high achiever, you have to wait for many, many years for them to be your turn to achieve that level, And that was just one of it. I think the other thing was the thing that really just flicked my mind and made me just hated it even more. I'm sorry to say this, but when I went inside the standby room, right, then I saw just, okay, I wouldn't like to say this. Let me rephrase it.
Yeah, all good.
Okay, basically, when I see the people around me, right? I mean, to each his own, but when I see the people around me and the amount of work that I was doing and the fact that we are both getting the same pay, it just boils me because I was like, there are other people, I mean, besides myself, there are many other people in the force there that really were putting in their heart, sweat and tears versus another person who is comfortable at where they are, which is okay. But essentially then you are bringing back both the same amount of money. So that was like no, I can't do this. I can't do this for long. Because if I want to grow and I see myself being comfortable there, I will not grow. So again, it leads me to the one that I mentioned to you about discomfort leads to growth. And I told myself, no, I have to get out from here one way or another. And I decided to just leave silently and quietly, because truth to be told, thankfully with the proper leadership that was actually guided, with the mentors and everything in the unit itself, it was really very warm heart, kind of heartening, I would say, because with that guidance, it made me who I am today. Yeah, and it just made me kind of sad to leave, but I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's just a way of life. Yeah, I just feel like I had to leave and step out my comfort zone one way or another. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of people can relate to that, because it sounds like that scenario was quite like a corporate job, like a typical corporate job, very bureaucratic, very structured in the way that, even if you work your hardest and your output is way more than other people, you're getting paid the same and you don't know when you're going to be promoted.
Correct.
And I think like as an entrepreneur, I think that's why maybe entrepreneurship is quite attractive for a lot of people that feel that way in a corporate job, is because generally the more work you put in, the more you're probably going to get out.
Exactly.
Especially if it's like commission based or whatever. So yeah, did you know you were going to, eventually start your own business when you were at the end of your police career, or were you, still, were you still kind of lost in that, what am I going to do next? Like, take me through like the last week of you being in the police force.
Okay, so during the last week itself, actually, I was already doing kind of like businesses. I had some failed businesses and some failed, like I was being like a middleman for some businesses, and some failed partnerships. So, and that was during the start of, even before I signed on, before I became a police officer as a regular. And that essentially opened up my eye even more, that I almost like, again, it's that failure where, shit, I don't think business is a thing for me again, because failed partnership, failed businesses that I thought I could do, and then becoming a middleman for some of the businesses that I felt like, it's not me. So that's where I wanted to still do entrepreneurship, but I had to learn so much more to learn. So that is where I used the time in the force as time for me to really study entrepreneurship. And during the last week of when I was in the force itself, I already had my exit plan 3 years before. 2-3 years before. Because I knew that it was something that I won't do this for a long...
Is a means to an end, like
correct.
You're eventually going to leave.
Exactly. And I think with that also, like remember how I mentioned to you about my ex-fiancée? So it was at that moment where I had to drop things from be it my personal life, my love life, everything, just so that I know that when I take this leap of faith with resigning from the force and taking to entrepreneurship, I don't want anybody to suffer around me. So that's why I felt that, you know what, I have to let people go, essentially. It was painful, it was hard, but I think that last week of resignation itself, it was just like it was tough. So again, back to your question, the things were already planned 2-3 years before already. So I was already thinking ahead of my exit plan at the end of that week itself. Yeah. So it was just for me, the last week was just for me to execute everything and ensure that it goes smoothly and no burning of bridges or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So how long was the time between leaving the force and joining Okami?
I was actually, I don't know if you can see it here, but I was actually doing it while I was in the force itself. But
You're
I
doing Okami already.
Yes, correct. So, but I wasn't disclaimer, I wasn't taking in any money from that. It was literally just for me to understand and learn about entrepreneurship and business and learning from whatever field business experience I had in the past to try to apply, and the connections or whatever it is to apply to Okami itself. So that's where eventually I met with Khai and Okami, and things started to grow from there thankfully.
Yeah. So I think to give people a little bit of context, like Okami was this clothing brand that Khai started.
Correct.
And if you guys want to learn more about Okami, last week's episode was with Khai. But basically, Khai started this brand Okami by himself for like about a year and a half. And that's kind of when you joined. So I think that's quite interesting because, you know, I've also tried to start businesses. I've failed. And I think the beginning is super difficult.
Definitely.
Like, unless you have a really good idea or you're doing something very unique, it's very hard to like start making money from it.
Yep.
So I think something like finding someone who's already doing it for a year and a half, he's already making a bit of money, but he's probably at a point where they can use help, right?
Yep.
And I think for people who are interested in entrepreneurship that are maybe don't have an idea or don't have something unique enough to launch, or if they just want to learn, reaching out to someone in a thoughtful and well-researched manner, I think can actually be very fruitful, and it's worked out for you. You know, you've worked with Khai, built Okami to where it is today, and then now you guys it's obviously worked out really well. So you guys started a second business, and this is gonna, you know, that's your first business you started from scratch. So there is no, I think that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, is there is no one way to do things, right? You can get super creative.
Exactly.
And like finding someone like Khai who, you know, started it from scratch and then joining to help him. And then in the future, you never know what's going to happen. So now that the context is there, what made you approach Khai? Like, why did you think that was the move to make?
When I came across his TikTok, you know, and I approached him, it was nothing purely about money. It was literally nothing about me trying to gain extra income or whatever it is, because I already had my own income from SPF side of things, right? The police force side of things. So it was literally, again, when I saw that, I saw Khai, how driven Khai was the first thing. I saw how much potential the brand had was another thing. So when these two actually combined, I had to go with my initial gut feeling that, you know what, let's try this partnership once more. And despite the failed partnership that I had in the past, it kind of had some sour experiences. So when I wanted to reach out to Khai, it was a bit of like a 50-50 kind of thing. But I felt like, you know what, let's just jump the gun. You never know what we can do with it. So when I DM him, funny enough, I actually DM him with a fake account. And I don't know how and why he then decided to reply me, but only after 3 months. So that guy is playing hard to get, bro. And I'm like, okay, now my busy man. You know, he's a busy man. So it's okay. So after 3 months itself, that's where he replied me. Then he said, oh, bro, okay, at the moment, I'm not looking for any partnership, but I'm down to hear your ideas. So I replied him immediately after that 3 months period. So after I replied him, then he didn't reply me for another 3 months. I was like, this guy is playing hard to get, man. But after that, we did converse after that 3 months. And so total, it was about 6 months before the initial meetup. And when I met up with him, I could see the drive that was, everything was aligned in terms of how driven he was, the values that he was going to take the brand towards, and the vision of how things were going to go. And I think essentially that kind of like sealed the deal for me. Like, okay, I think this would be a good partnership despite whatever unknown that we are going to tap into. So I think that's where I essentially held my trust in.
Yeah. And why do you think he eventually met up with you?
I have no idea, man. You gotta ask him. He just said like, oh, I did ask him, and he just said like, oh, just try. Just try. I was like, okay, fine. Because he did mention to me that he had many other people who approached him to be his partner, but he didn't. It fell through some way or another. But I don't know. Maybe he shared with you. I don't know why. But on my end, I just know that he just told me that, he just saw something in me that maybe I could bring to the table, and that's all.
Yeah. And do you remember what exactly you said? Was it just because I think it's important to, like you said, not be, oh yeah, this is how can you benefit me? It's more about like, what can I do for you?
Oh,
right.
Yep.
So do you remember what you said about that? Like what would you advise someone who's maybe looking to do what you did to get, a entrepreneur's attention and essentially work for free, right?
Yep. Advice. Okay, I think I will start off with what I did first. I think I kind of remembered what I said. So I told him that, hey Khai, I've had my connections and I have some business knowledge in terms of growing a brand or a company. Let's see how we can essentially grow this out together. That's it. That's that. So, and the second thing is the advice, if I may, is I think the first of all is always to give free value first, and to always it's okay to work for free. The moment you start to work because of money, that's where your mindset essentially shift, and that's where I'm going to do this because of money. And I think the first start of it is whenever you approach someone, especially in terms of partnerships or in terms of opportunities, it's never approach them for financial sake, but approach them because you can give a certain value to that person, and essentially they can leverage from you. And whatever happens from there, then leave it. Be it if it falls through or it creates even more opportunities for you, then let it be. It's okay. Essentially, what you are giving is your value, your knowledge, and you're not at loss for anything, because what you are gaining is possibly knowledge and potential connections that you can tap from them also. At the end of the day, you are not at loss at anything. I think that's what I can say lah.
Yeah. Did you feel any resistance from Khai at the beginning? Like, because Khai built this brand for 1.5 years.
Yep.
The beginning's always extremely tough.
Yep.
This is probably his baby.
Correct.
He's built Okami from zero. Do you think there was any resistance there when you first joined? And also, like, how did you navigate that?
There was resistance, no doubt. There was resistance, but he put me through a series of tests that only after 1 year of working with him, he only told me that lah. But essentially is again how I navigated through that whole journey of resistance, or like how Khai is going to deal with me, yada yada yada. It's really just again doing your best with the purest of intention, and I think that was what led us to this continuous partnership. Because again, if you are that kind of person who is always trying to get something out of a person, bro, your journey will just stop there, because your intentions are pure. You're not there for the reason of why you even approached the person in the first place. So again, I navigated myself through pure intentions and just the experience and the knowledge that I wanted to continue building with him, and expanding the brand was the same vision that was aligned together. Yeah, so I think that really helped me to navigate things with him lah.
Mm-hmm. So was there a point in time where he finally accepted that, okay, I'm sure the beginning was like a trial phase.
Yep.
Right? Khai is very analytical. I know he's a deep thinker.
Yep.
So I'm sure he had a point where he's like, okay, this guy's serious.
Yep.
This guy has what it takes to join this journey with me. Do you still remember the day where he had that talk with you? It's like, okay, now, you can have some equity in the company. Now you can start getting paid. Or was that something you brought up? Like, I'm doing all of this. Can I now ask for equity? Because I'm taking the perspective of maybe someone looking to do that in the future, looking to reach out. Like, is there a point where they should bring up like, equity and getting paid. You know, you can't work for free forever,
Of
right?
course.
Yeah. Do you remember that point for you?
Funny enough, I can't recall that moment though, to be honest, because I think it was an unspoken rule for me that again boils down to the intentions that, you know, I told him first of all, like, Khai, I'm here working with you in terms of this, partnering with you to grow Okami. It's not for the money. And even truth to be told, throughout the whole journey while I was in the force working with Okami and everything, we weren't bringing back any money for ourselves for Okami, you know. So I told him that whatever it is, we will just continue to grow this brand as big as it is. And eventually, when Okami really grew to a certain extent, then only that moment where we had to talk about the shares and everything, that's when we talked about it. And that's because of the formal agreement and everything that, you know, the ACRA submissions and everything. So that had to be done, you know. But behind all those, it was really just that there wasn't any moment that I decided to talk to him. Hey bro, how's my shares? No, none of that. I don't even recall any of that. Or even on his end also, he has never brought that up to me, because again, it's something that if both of you are aligned to the same things, the same vision, then I think, of course, financially, money will always have to play a part in the later future. But to start it off, that shouldn't be your biggest worry as of now. If you are really driven to the same goal and vision, because you die together, you suffer together, or you succeed together. That's that. Yeah, and that's for me basically. Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think you guys work so well with each other?
Because he brings things to the table that I don't, and I bring things to the table that he don't. So we are basically like yin and yang, you know. We are total opposites. Like, I'm between the both of us, I'm the emotional one. And he, on the other end, he's not so much of emotions kind of guy, you know. So there's just the very surface of examples. And I think on the other end, if you were to look into the structure wise in Okami, is where he is the one that brings out the idea and a certain skeleton to things. But that is where I come in and elaborate more on that foundation. How can we then refine on this thing? So he comes up with the skeleton, I would then execute that whole thing and how we can refine better. So I think it's just a perfect balance of things that he brings things to the table that I don't, and I bring things to the table that he don't, and we just match proper. And I think it's just fit, I would say. Yeah, thankfully.
Yeah. And I think I asked you guys this when I met with both of you about a year ago. Also, like the same question, right?
Yep.
And I think you said it perfectly. It's like Kai's the planner, the thinker, the researcher, and I'm the guy who executes on it. I think when a planner meets an executor, that relationship always goes really, really well.
Yep.
And I think you guys are a great example of that. The synergy there as well. And like you guys are pretty much like best friends at this point as well. Like there's not just work involved. I'm sure there's other, you know, sides of it.
Yep.
And I think that's important in a business partnership. It can't be always about business.
It is.
Do you think every entrepreneur needs a partner or partners when starting a business?
Oh, that's a good question. I think in the first stage of things, you don't have to. But then there will be a certain point in time where you will just plateau, you know? And I think having a partnership, be it a partner or a certain partnership or collaboration, that is where it will boost your business into the next level. And I know of some people who all about the lone wolf mindset and, you know, having that kind of mindset, which is good. But essentially for you to build an empire, you have to build people and you have to build systems and you have to create a team among yourself, because you can't do things alone. At the end of the day, you have to rely on this person to bring you up. You have to rely on this person to help you in certain aspects. So again, it's really about connecting with each other. And yeah, and I think that's that, I would say. So in the first place, you can do it alone, but there's a certain point where you have to, one way or another, partner up or collab or do a certain partnership deal with someone. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah. So you left the Singapore police force. You started working on Okami.
Yep.
When was the time you and Khai decided to start your second business? So this would be technically your first business. You're starting from scratch.
Correct.
When was that point for you?
It was when we actually saw the loophole, I would say, or the problem that real estate agents were actually facing with their branding and their social awareness. So TikTok was really a thing in terms of the social media platform. So
sorry, for context, your second business is a marketing agency.
Marketing agency, correct. Yep. So basically, my marketing agency, it was actually, again, it was Khai, the one that saw that. So he actually saw that the real estate agents needed help in terms of marketing themselves to get more leads, to get more customers in, right? So that is where Khai is very good in personal branding. I was good in terms of the video production side of things. So again, we complemented each other and we found a problem and we solved the problem. So that was the first milestone and the baby steps that we took before we eventually kind of like explored into other industries like FM. Right now, we are in F&Bs, e-commerce, and into the other services like renovation and spa services. So yeah, that was essentially the thing that kicked off everything during that point of time. And it was after 1.5 years that we decided to, you know what, I think it's time to create the marketing agency, because truth to be told, marketing agency is where the cash flow is, essentially. That's where the cash flow is. But we had to do it proper with proper systems, and we didn't have that in the first place. But we knew that we had to learn as time goes by, and we were just growing so fast that things were crumbling, but we were going up again. And I think that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, where when you have problems, you fix it. If not, nobody's going to hold you accountable for that, and the clients don't care, oh, you are struggling, or, they don't care about that. They just want results. So it was always on our end to ensure that we provide that results for them. Yeah.
And yeah, when you say you started a marketing agency, what does that look like from the beginning? What do you mean by that? So like going from zero, if someone's interested in starting a marketing agency, how do they get from like zero to like getting their first clients, or to like get their first bit of cash in?
I think that's where the learning comes in, we were learning from people like Alex Homozy, Iman Gadzi. These people had books that they were already offering, like, the 100 million leads. And all that essentially is key for you to learn first as a foundation. And the first thing I would say is having a good product offer. I think that's the first thing. If your product offer is not very attractive, nobody will even want it. I think that's the first thing. Then followed by your product itself. It has to be good one way or another, because if your product can't sell, then it's going to be tough for you to expand even further. So I think that this is the first two fundamentals, which if anybody wants to do it, it's always the product offer and followed by the product itself. Then as you grow, that's where, if I could tell myself when starting out, is really to understand how to make SOPs and how to create proper systems. And because all this as a whole will kind of like optimize your whole operations and your whole deliverables at the end of the day.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone that's just starting out? Would you recommend them to do courses? Would you recommend them to maybe find someone that's already doing it, work for free kind of thing? Like what do you think is the fastest way for someone to start?
I don't believe in the fastest way. I really don't believe in the fastest way. But to accelerate yourself, to accelerate that growth, I think always remember this, that invest in yourself first. So be it through courses, marketing courses, then investing in yourself can not only be financially, but also through the books that you read. And once you have that basis, don't let that knowledge go to waste. Put it down into your pen and paper, write it down. How are you then going to create this product with whatever that you learn? So I think the fastest way is to really quickly learn, quickly plan, quickly execute. I think that's the fastest way that you can do. But the fastest way will take you probably 6 months, 1 year. So don't hate the process, enjoy it, because you will learn so much from that. Yeah, that's the best I can say.
What do you think is the biggest difference between a marketing agency and a clothing brand?
The biggest difference?
Yeah, from your perspective.
In my perspective, I think clothing brand, you can sell to the masses, and if one of them dislike your brand or don't like the shirt, then it's okay, because there are many other thousands that they might not be the targeted customers that we want to target essentially. However, on the other end, for marketing agency, you have to please your clients one way or another, because you already close them as a client. You better deliver the deliverables and the results that you already promised them. And the two aspects, I think, as a whole, is just expectations. Yeah. One is a lower expectation in a way, but the other one pays you so much, so the expectation is like this level that you have to succeed for them, And if you don't, there goes your money. They are just going to leave you, and there's no working relationship with you anymore. So it's scary to the extent, because you are dealing with so much money, and the difference in terms of the customer service you have to give is also a different level to things.
What skill or personality trait do you think has helped you be successful at creating a marketing agency?
Be a sponge. Yeah, be a sponge. Absorb whatever knowledge that you can get, whatever mistakes that you've done, just absorb it and just learn from it. I think that's the one trait for myself that I've always learned to become. Because if you stop learning, and if you think that, I'm already earning this much, bro, there are many other agencies that are earning 3 times, 5 times, 10 times more than you. So why do you think of yourself so highly when these people are earning much more than you? So always be a sponge, always want to learn, always want to make mistakes. As much as it is, people say, hey, don't make mistake. In school, we are always taught, hey, don't make mistake. How come you do this mistake? But I think in life right now, like it applies to both of us. I think as much as business is good, but we want sometimes mistakes to happen. Then we can learn from that. If not, we will never grow.
If you don't mind sharing, what's the most amount of money your business has made in a single month?
I would say, if I'm not wrong, okay, it's about 50K per month itself, thankfully. Yeah, I think that's the most in terms of the agency side, 50K per month. Yeah, and are we happy? We are, but we are not contented and we're not satisfied with that. That's where, again, we just want to grow even more.
Yeah. 50K a month is really impressive, right?
Yeah.
And I want to go back to something you said all the way at the beginning.
Yep.
Which was, I hate saying that I'm an entrepreneur. I don't feel like I'm an entrepreneur yet.
Yep.
You're making $50,000 per month from your business, and you don't think you're an entrepreneur yet. So take me through that. Why do you feel like you don't want to call yourself an entrepreneur?
Wow. You got me there. That's a good question. I think, bro, I'll be honest with you. If I've seen people who have made millions and millions of dollars, and it made my 50K per month look like small stones and pebbles, bro. So for me, it's just nothing. It's just nothing really. The moment I think I can call myself an entrepreneur is where really I've built an empire for myself together with Khai, where I have a whole team that I know that I have eventually nurtured them and it's self-running. essentially. And I think that's my goal at the end of the day, to have millions and millions in terms of revenue for my company. But again, it's just that limiting belief that you have, and the higher you aim, if you fail, you will at least fail one level above it, So that again, to me, it's very important because I've not made it. As much as people say, "Oh, bro, you're earning 50K per month." Nah, bro, it's not enough. I am thankful enough in terms of yes, I am thankful for the amount, but that is just revenue, and that is just, I know that, nah, bro, there are people making millions a month. So why am I so happy with it? So that makes me want to drive even harder. That makes me want to do my work even more, close more sales, close more people. It's just that constant need of, I need to get there one way or another. So that's why I am who I am. Like, essentially what I told you, that I don't think that I'm an entrepreneur right now. Yeah.
Why do you think you're not satisfied? Like, where does the need to make more money come from? Is that your own expectation? Is that expectation from other people, social media? Where do you think that drive comes from?
The biggest drive is from the why I even wanted to do entrepreneurship, and that biggest why is for my family and my future family. Yes, I'll just be honest. Yes, I'm not from a low income family. I'm from a middle income family, but I wasn't raised with a silver spoon. My mom always told me, "You want it, you go and work for it. You want it, you go and work for it. I'm not going to give you the money." No. So it made me feel like I want to ensure that my parents live a life that they have never experienced. Even up till now, my parents, my younger brothers, my younger sisters, and I'll be honest with you, I come from a broken family in a way, where my parents are divorced. So I have two sets of families. I have two sets of parents, basically. One family, the other family, and both of them, I have two little brothers and two little sisters. So to me, that made me like want to push even more. Like, no, I have so much. I can't be feeding for just one family. I have to feed for both. Because to me, it's only justice, and it's only fair for me to, if I spend this amount of money, I need to spend this amount of money on my other family. And that we haven't even talked about my future family yet. How am I going to live the life for my kids? How am I going to live the life for my future wife? So I think it's the one why that always have driven me, which is my family and my future family at the end of the day. Yeah.
Do you take pride in that responsibility?
Okay, maybe you elaborate a bit in terms of pride.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you proud? But that's the same thing as pride. Maybe are you grateful that you have that kind of responsibility? Because Chris Bumstead, you know Chris Bumstead?
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Oh, you don't know Chris Bumstead? He's a very famous bodybuilder.
Oh, the big guy. Yeah.
Won the Olympia, I think, four
times, right?
4 or 5 times now.
Okay.
But he's loved because of his mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And he said something along the lines of, pressure is a privilege. And I love that because a lot of people don't have the opportunities that we have in Singapore, for example. Singapore is a very quote unquote safe place.
Yep.
We have a lot of opportunity here.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, pressure can be seen as, something that's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the way that he flipped it and said, no, it's a privilege to have it. So yeah, do you think it's a privilege? Do you think, like, would you rather be doing something? Would you rather not have
that situation?
Yeah, not have to feel the pressure to be successful for your family.
I think I am proud, or I take pride in that responsibility, because to me, with that given responsibility, it allows me to kind of like double my rewards in terms of, as a Muslim man, I always believe that this kind of thing happens for a reason, and the fact that I was given the opportunity to actually take care of two sets of parents rather than one, I think that's a double bonus for me. And that only means that when I give to one set of parents in terms of monetary and finances, I can give the other set of parents also. And that's double the deans for me, I would say. So with that pressure, eventually, it creates diamonds. So that's where I'm always trying to give me more pressure, because I know that at the end of the day, there's a unshined diamond in me that wants to shine even brighter, So that's that.
Has there ever been a moment where you wanted to give up?
Bro, it's every day. The mental struggles, the emotional struggles that you go through, it's tough. And especially when at a point of time when I had to kind of part ways with my ex-fiancée, that was the toughest, because I felt that I wanted to give up because the person who I loved back then is no more with me. So why am I doing it? Again, it's for the future family. But I stayed true to why I wanted to do it and not give up because of my family. And I know that I wanted them to live a life that they have never experienced. And it's okay if I'm going through all this hardship and all this hell and all these struggles, whatever it is. But I know that at the end of the day, it's for them. And it's sad sometimes when they don't see that side of it, like you are doing it for them, but it's okay. I think it's okay. Yeah. And every day I just feel like giving up, because you have this thing where you doubt yourself when people tell you, oh bro, you're doing so well. Not because they don't know the struggles that there are point of time where your business just drop and you have people to pay. You have team members that you have to pay and put food on the table for their families, So is that point of time like, is it even worth it? I should have just gone back to being a regular in the police force where I'm given that monthly pay and I'm comfortable, but is that what I want? No. At the end of the day, it's something bigger that I want to achieve. And I always believe with bigger responsibilities, it comes with bigger power, and it's only meant for bigger people of bigger power. So that's where also I have that belief in me that pushes me every day, despite the one to give up in business and everything.
If the future version of yourself was watching this very clip of the podcast right now, listening to what you have had to say, what do you think he would say to you right now?
I love how your questions make me reflect a lot. I love it. But hopefully my future self hopefully will look at me right now and tell me that all these problems are just small problems that you're facing. And if you are not going through this whole pressure and these whole problems, it will not put me at where you are currently at right now, which hopefully will be at the successful status of where I want to be. So hopefully if he is watching now, I just want to tell myself that I got this, and I know I will push through, and I'll make sure that we, from the very start to the very end, we will get through this and achieve whatever vision and goals that we want to achieve. Nothing less than that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice, man. What do you think is your greatest fear?
The fear of never being enough. Be it in business or be it as a partner, be it business partner or a love partner or as a son. The fear of just not being able to meet the expectations for them. And I think the other bigger fear that I have is if I'm not successful at a certain time frame, I'm afraid I'm losing time with my parents because they are only getting older. So it's that constant fear of if I'm not successful, then that whole time is wasted on me not being able to spend time with my family. So whatever it is, again, I use that fear to just fuel me and just drive and make sure you are successful. Make sure you are successful. Don't give up. Don't give up. And because again, if I look back at my fears, it's just non-tangible per se. It's just thoughts. It's just ideas that comes in your mind, So I reverse that and just say that, screw that. I'm going to make sure that I use that fear to make sure that I'm successful. I make things happen. That's that. Yeah. Because a lot of people right now is like, oh bro, I'm so scared. I'm so scared of this. I'm so scared of that. But you're just talking. You're not doing any actions. Again, action. That's why in relationship or whatever it is, they say actions speak louder than word. And it applies to life basically. And yeah, use that fear to eventually drive or fuel yourself. That's the biggest flame that you can ever cause in your own life. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that because Alex Hormozy recently said in one of his videos, fear is ocean wide, but only an inch deep.
Ooh.
It's like there's so many things you're afraid of, but if you just step into your fear, you'll feel it and realize it's only very shallow, and I think I found that in my journey as well, like being so afraid to start. I think that it's extremely scary to actually like take action. And like take action, what I mean by that is like, it's not about your business plan and, making content or whatever. It's actually doing the big things that make the difference, right? Exactly. The 80-20 rule. Like what 20% of your actions give you 80% of the results, right? Correct. So what does that 20% look like? And for marketing agency, that's like asking your first client, will you pay me?
Correct.
And then going to do that. It's not about the 6 months of learning, right? That's not really taking action. Taking action is actually stepping in the water and doing it. And that's super scary, man.
It is.
So what advice would you have for someone who's scared, who's apprehensive about taking the leap of faith?
Just do it. As much as Nike says it, right? Just do it. Just do it. Really, really. Like what? You said it perfectly. It might, for example, for sales call, when I first started doing my first sales call, I was afraid to do a cold call, bro. I was like, what if? So many what if. It's like, shit, what if they reject me? What if they don't want to talk to me? All those what if. And that fear grew eventually. And honestly, I just put on the phone. I didn't do it. Then the next day came. And I started to just, okay, what's the worst that I can go? What's the worst that can go wrong if I pick up the phone, I do some calls, I get rejected, and it's fine. It's okay. So again, just do it. Whatever that it is, be it in business or be it in your life or be it in your own corporate job. If you are afraid of something, just try it out. You never know what beauty lies in that, or you never know that, actually that's not bad. And I think we have experienced that before, like, actually it's not that bad. Like what you said about Alex Hormozy, the ocean is just that wide. It's only an inch deep. And it sums up perfectly if, like, say, you were to really just give it a try. And if some of you are afraid to try it without a proper safety net, then have certain plans that you have in mind that, okay, if I fail in doing this, what is my backup plan? What is my plan B, plan C? Because for me and for Khai, it's only plan A. There's no plan B, and that is what really drives us to make sure that we hit our goal no matter what. Yeah. So for those who like to play it safe, it's okay. You can always do it step by step. Slowly have a certain plan in place that you can fall as a safety net. Then you learn, then you grow, you pick yourself up, you go again. Yeah. I think that's the best I can share.
Yeah. No, that's great. Fitness is very important to you.
Yes.
You're training for the Hyrox competition.
Yep.
Soon. How many? 2 more months? 3 more months?
No, it's actually next month.
Oh, next month.
End
wow,
of
that's
next month.
fun.
Yeah, bro.
But I feel like fitness is something that's growing in the entrepreneurship community.
Yep.
A lot more people are, trying to get fitter and balance the fitness with their work.
Yep.
What advice would you have for, an entrepreneur who's super busy? You're running 2 businesses. Mm-hmm. You don't have a lot of time, but you still have to stay fit.
Yep.
what advice would you have to someone trying to start out?
Have a proper schedule and have a proper routine that you can follow every single day. So you don't have to go into extreme length of waking up at 5 a.m., but something that you're comfortable with for the start. Probably if you start work at 10 a.m., just go for a short run, 30 minutes run at probably 8 a.m. Then start to schedule yourself. Oh, actually I can do this. And you realize that once you start planning out your day better and setting aside time to actually work out, your mind can actually make better decisions and is fresher once you come to work. Honestly, some of them would think like, oh no, if I run, I'm going to be tired. Actually it's not. It actually, for me personally, it actually kind of brighten up my mood because of the endorphins, whatever it is. I don't know what the scientific terms to it, but it just makes you happier somehow when you come to work. You're like, oh, I actually feel productive because within that 1 hour of someone sleeping, the extra 1 hour of someone sleeping, it made me feel better because that 1 hour I actually managed to work out, I managed to read, and you feel so much more productive at the end of the day. And that will drive you every day. But the keyword is the C word, which is consistency. Yeah, once you lose that, you have to restart, and the restart is so hard. But again, everybody have to start somewhere. So again, come up with a schedule that you are comfortable with, a routine that you know that you can first show up. That's the first thing. If you are going to plan your day at 9 a.m., you are going to wake up at 9 a.m. and do it. And importantly, it's just to show up every single day, be it whatever circumstance that you will actually face at the end of the day.
Do you have any, because I think time management with that is probably the most important. Do you have any tips about how to be good at time management?
Oh, there's two things. So first, I actually kind of like have a routine where I started off on Google Calendar where it can repeat. You know how you have the function of repeat, right? So you can probably 8 a.m. run. So you repeat it every day. So then on your calendar it shows. But I think what has worked for me now is I actually watched a video on Charlie Morgan, and he shared this warm up thing where it makes you super productive. It's like mad productive where you can plan out your day and the next day itself, and also as an overview in terms of the different months that you have throughout that whole spectrum of 2024, for example. So you have the quarter one, which is January, February, March. Then they're actually able to show you like, okay, you have this another tab that you can see the whole month of the year. Then you can actually dive in deeper if you press the certain month, for example, June. Then you press on another tab in June, and you can plan out your day and whatever plans that or means that you are actually planning to do. And for those interested, you can just search up Charlie Morgan Warm Map. I think that will really be
Charlie Morgan Warm Map.
Yep.
WARMAP.
Yes, WARMAP.
I'm gonna try.
Bro, you should try
that
it.
out.
You should try it, man. It's mad.
I've got an interesting set of questions.
Yes, go for it.
That I didn't ask Khai, your business partner, but I'm gonna ask you.
Why?
I should ask him actually, but I forgot.
Go ahead.
If you could change one thing about your business partner, what would it be?
Simple. For him to just learn how to communicate his feelings and his thoughts better to me. And I think because communication is very important for me, so at least I know where his mind is at, and at least I know where my mind is at, whether it's still aligned to him. So I think that's essentially something that I hope he does more. But he is trying, but it's so tough for him because it's just hard shell for him to just break, but it's okay. So if that's one thing, I think it's just him opening up and communicating better with me. That's all. Yeah.
And if the tables were turned, what do you think Khai would like to change about you?
Wow, that's a good question. Personally, I feel is let me see. Wow, that's a good question. I think it's the way I think in terms of how I approach certain business decisions. Yeah, I think that's that, because again, that's where the yin and yang comes in between the both of us. But I know he sometimes feel like, why don't you think of it this way? And but I think with different perspective, it brings better conclusions and better decisions, I feel. But I think that's one thing, probably that, and also the way I work on things. I think that's just that. Yeah. Because the way he works is different from the way I work. What he thinks is productive is different from what I think is productive. Yeah. So again, it's learning with each other and also understanding better. Yeah.
So it's a lot about communication.
It is, bro.
And that's something I think takes a long time.
It is
to develop.
It takes super long, bro. Trust me. Even up till now, I think he's just peeling one piece of the shell to me, and it's not full yet. But it's okay. I wouldn't want to force him. When he opens up, he opens up. Hopefully he does.
Yeah. If you lost everything, like both businesses disappeared, and you had to start from scratch all over again, would you rather start a marketing agency or a clothing brand? Or would you do a whole different type of business?
Bro, these questions are deep. I love it. Give me a moment. Let me think about it.
Yeah.
I would actually open up a different category to things, probably F&B or another service. But on the side, I would want to still try either one of them, because I know that I've learned the experience, the knowledge. So for me to accelerate from the start, it's faster for me. And it will take me a shorter period of time as compared to when I first started out. So I think first of all is to open up a different business as a whole. But I think I would want to open up the clothing brand again, because I know that clothing is always a need for people, but that in itself comes with a lot of knowledge and experience and capital that essentially you have to try and to grow from that itself. Yeah.
So if you only could pick one, you would still do the other business?
Definitely.
You would pick F&B?
Definitely.
Why F&B?
Everybody needs food. Everybody needs need to drink one way or another. So again, as a business owner, I will always think of, what is that one thing that people always need? What is that one thing can I then, yes, they need this thing, but how can I make it in a way that they need it even more? Or they want that thing from me as compared to the other people that are out there. And I know that I can come up with this of like, I know where your loophole is, where your problem is. And I like to find problems. Because when problem is there, I am able to solve it. So that's where I know that it's a never-ending business in F&B. But again, the marketing, that is where your knowledge from the marketing aspect and the clothing brand, you can eventually tie it down to your F&B. So again, you expand from that. And that's the beauty of it. It's just endless in terms of that. Yeah.
And is there a concept you have in mind? What kind of restaurant or type of food you would serve?
I love meat. So probably, how... okay, that sounds wrong. Bro, come on. No.
We'll cut it out. No. Would you, what kind of concept would you do if you chose to do F&B?
Oh. I love proteins. You know how... Proteins, bro. Come on, it's proteins. It's proteins.
I might just leave it in. Yeah. Okay, you love protein.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love proteins. I've always loved watching Hell's Kitchen. Bro, come on. I always love watching Hell's Kitchen, bro. And it's not just the meat itself, okay? It's I love watching Hell's Kitchen. I love watching the Texas barbecue side of things. Oh, I love that, bro. So, and I know that it's not so competitive in the space in Singapore itself, but in terms of the way that you have to bring down your shipment fees for all quality meat, wow, that's a headache. That I know that it's a whole different ocean that I'm going to dive into. So that comes with learning curve. And again, to mitigate that, like what I mentioned earlier, is to find someone or find somebody who has done it before and they can then impart their experience and knowledge to you, then you can run it on your own. You know,
that's super interesting because the first guest I had on here, my good friend Jet, and he has a barbecue business.
Really?
Yeah. He does it. He's very successful with it, and like you said, it's about finding something that a lot of people need.
Yep.
Right. Because if there's a need for it, then there's definitely opportunity.
Exactly.
Right? So yeah, that's interesting that you said. Maybe you can connect with him if you ever want to start something in F&B, but I'm not sure if he'd help a competitor if you were to do Texas barbecue as well. But
we'll find a way.
Yeah. If this is kind of a question I like to ask.
Yeah.
We're only 3 episodes in, but this is something I probably want to ask every single guest. But if you have one message for the world.
Okay.
I know, another deep question.
Yep.
If you had one message for the world, what would it be?
Can I say my quote? Not say my quote, but a quote that I want to tell people that eventually, hopefully it will help many of them. And I know they might have come across this quote or this phrase before, but I always live by it, that to everyone out there, mindset is what separates the best from the rest. So if any one of you, be it in your daily life or your entrepreneurship or wherever it is at any stage or point in your life, how you train your mind is how you are going to become as a person. And you are only as strong as how you train your mind, because without your mind, you can just go crazy or you can just give up so easily. But I think if you have a strong mental fortitude, that itself, nobody can touch you. You are untouchable in that aspect. No matter whatever I say to you, you know your mind is, no, because I know this. No, whatever you say, I don't really care so much, because I have really filtered a certain mindset that I have for myself. And I think with that, it's really, mindset is really what separates the best from the rest. And that's what I probably want to share from now, because that question itself is very deep and it might not be the best quote, but I think that's what I want to share on my own personal belief and my own message. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
No, bro. Thank you
your
for
time
having
today.
Me.
Okay. Sweet, man.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah, of course. Oh, I try to hold it in. Shit. Okay.
Okay,
man,
I love
really
to.
unprofessional.
Yeah, shit, man. Okay, I love.
Alright.
Oh, shit, man.
Alright, just take a second. We can cut that out.
Shit, man. That's hilarious. Shit. I didn't thought of it until now. I'm like, oh fuck, yeah. Shit.
I thought you were messing around.
No, bro. No, I was like, oh shit. Actually,